Okay, so welcome to today's technology showcase. It's the second one we've run. Today we're going to be focusing on increasing sales conversion and the current and future role of analytics and quality management. So today, I'll go through the housekeeping before I pass on to John, John Greenwood, who's going to be hosting today. We're going to be running a number of polls through the session, where we'd like you to obviously provide your thoughts, and we can make comments off the back of that. There's also a Q&A, so if you want to ask a question, there's a Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to ask the question you have in your mind. We'll get the audience get the panelists to actually answer as best they can. If we manage to, or don't manage to get through to all the questions, we'll endeavour to get back to you following the session. There is a short survey at the end when we finish the webinar. If you could provide your thoughts, that would be very much appreciated. We always endeavour to improve these and make sure they are as best they can be. Today's session is a panelist discussion, so there's no slides. This is an interactive panel discussion between our experts and also the audience. There will be, following this, opportunity to watch the session again. We'll be sending through an email and communications with some supporting material, as well as a link through to the video. So I'm going to pass you on to John now. So John's going to introduce, he's going to set the scene, let you know about a bit more information about the topic itself, and introduce each of the panelists. John.
Thank you, JB. Much appreciated. Welcome, everybody. Just to put some frame around this, what we discussed last time was AI and the role of the conversational bot, and how that is putting perhaps more emphasis on our agents, because so much more of the information provision, more of the repetitive nature of call handling has been automated through those machines. Now, that's going to put a greater emphasis on our human resource, the people we have on the coalface. So our panel today is to help us through how we optimize that resource, how we support that resource, whether that's in a sales context, boosting the bottom line, or whether it's in a service context, boosting the future bottom line. So without further ado, let's introduce the audience, and I'm going to go ladies first. Natalie, how are you today? So I'll speak for Natalie. Natalie's really well.
Natalie's just coming off of mute. Sorry about that.
Well done, Natalie.
Yeah, good start. Hi to everybody, especially some names in the audience that I recognize, so special hello to you. So just a brief introduction on myself. So I've been around this industry for a long time now. I do three things really. Number one is I work around bringing together customer experience with employee experience. So how do we engage our people to deliver more, deliver better, and deliver it faster always? Secondly, I work a lot with leadership teams and team managers to make sure they've got the right skills to do the job. And then thirdly, it's all about making sure that the front line have the right conversations, that they've got the right skills to be able to deliver what's becoming more and more demanding, but we'll come on to that. That's enough from me. Back to you, John.
We will. And thanks, Natalie. And Jimmy's come back from a couple of exhausting days at CC Expo, where he was just telling us about all of the fantastic conversations you've been having there. So Jimmy's very much from both the outsourcing side and the client side over the years, and really come from a financial services background, really helping folks understand what's been said over the phone and how we can translate that into actionable MI. So Jimmy, welcome.
Thanks, John. Yeah, so hi everybody, Jimmy Hosang. First of all, just excuse me for sounding a little bit like Barry White, but even for somebody who talks a tremendous amount as part of his job, and personally. I've just been talking absolutely constantly. So yeah, just excuse that, but I'm going to plow on regardless. Just to give you a little bit of a background to my company. So we like to think of ourselves as a proudly different provider of contact center solutions. We're an AI company, we're a next best action company, but really what we're trying to do is we want to maximize the value of every customer conversation. I've had a little bit of a unique journey. I came from a performing arts background, and so during my performing arts background, I got to learn around the importance of scripting and structure, the importance of acting and modulation and colouring performance and empowerment. And I also got to learn around how direction is important and how a good director gets the best out of the tools that they have, and a poor director can take all the parts away. And I think in many ways that's around how I see like a sales and sales through service journey, is around creating the greatest scripts and the greatest structure, getting your performers, your agents, to deliver the like really great performance, and then when they're modulating when they're moving away from that great performance and the actual vision about what you're trying to do, bringing them back on track. So really looking forward to an interesting panel discussion with you all today.
Good one. Thanks for that. And finally, but by no means least, Rob, welcome. Good to see you.
Hi, John. Hi, everyone.
Give us a quick 30 seconds.
So yeah, that'll be a challenge. Like Jimmy, I like to talk. So yeah, my background is contact centers through and through, 25 years doing every role from agent through to larger enterprise transformation roles. miPerform, which is a company that I founded 3 years ago, is also an AI, but it's a different type of AI to Jimmy. So we're augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. So the role of the super agent and the changing role as that becomes more complex and more valuable both to the customer and to the business is really of interest for us. So we provide tools and technologies, and I'm passionate about professionalizing the role of the agent and making sure that it gets the value and the recognition it deserves. And we do that through empowerment of your frontline people.
Super. Let's pick up on that point first, because I want to expand on what we talked about on the last session, which is the super agent. Natalie, you've got you've been looking at this in context, over the last couple of decades, and you've seen people grow as technology's grown and as they've been facilitated, etc. Give us talk us through what you think a super agent looks like. What are they paid? In terms of, and what's different about a super agent rather than what we understand as an ordinary agent, let's say.
Okay, it's interesting what you say. I came across some slides like we all do in our archives on our machines, and I found a slide regarding the super agent that I had done in 1992. Yeah. And it was a classic picture of the juggler with everything in their hands going around and trying to bring it all together. And here we are nearly in 2022. So that's kind of nearly 3 decades later discussing the same topic. I think there's a big difference though right now, because I don't think the super agent is in the future. I think the super agent is here now. I also don't think that they are a different type of person. I think what's happened through COVID and us flipping the model of how we run contact centers totally on its head. So we discussed before, from going from voice-led into email, into chat, where we've gone to chatbot, we've gone to email, and then we've put voice in now as the lower end, if you like, where we're dealing with the really more complex stuff. What that means, virtually all of our staff are having to deal with their customers as if they are super agents. And there's no getting away from it. And if you are getting away from it and dealing with transactional stuff soon, you're about to wipe that out with a really clever piece of AI over the next couple of years, or a super intelligent bot, whatever it may be. So we've got to look at our frontline teams today and say, we've reached this tipping point. We are here. It's not the dawn, we are in it. We are in it really loud and clear, and we are seeing all the symptoms of organizations doing it Gosh, I feel like I'm about to get on a soapbox, but awfully, absolutely awfully. One of the biggest symptoms, I think, is employee well-being, where we haven't designed the right conversations in. We haven't made sure that our staff are skilled and equipped to deal with them. Therefore, I put the phone down and I'm now stressed out. I'm dealing with so many emails. I am dealing with irate customers. A large organization the other day was talking, they're now measuring irate customers, okay? So that's one of their key indicators, is how irate my customers are. It's an interesting psychology one, isn't it? How I mark that box, yes or no, or whether the analytics tell me otherwise. And they estimate that their irate customer level has gone up by 30%. 30% wow. Pre and post pandemic, right? So that's a significant level of anger that our frontline are dealing with. So when we look at our super agents, all of our staff have become super agents. We just haven't got them with the skill set and the leadership that can manage it. And all of the great resignation. Why are they resigning? They're resigning because it's all stressed out, and their managers, we work for managers, don't we? We don't work for organizations. We know all that stuff, but their managers just can't manage it. So what are the key attributes? I mean, I can come on and I can talk some more, because we want to see people doing things, take complexity and make it simple. We want problem solvers. Yeah, we want to have people that put others first, I think, is a really key piece of behavioral stuff that's important. And people that really are equipped to deal and work in a resilient manner. Now, what I'm not saying is buckets of empathy, right? Because I think we've gone off on an empathy Trojan horse that's absolutely ridiculous right now in our sector. I think we need to get the foundations in place, the building blocks for the future. We need to have the right conversations with the right customer. So where does all that start? So I can see you, let me just finish, John. I can see you hand raised. I've just finished, right? And I think, and we've got lots of outsourcers on today, and I think this is going to be a real hit for you guys, is you've got to find the value. You've got to move from volume to value. And that value will dictate how you build your people. And the clock is ticking, and like John's ticking the clock with me, you haven't got a lot of time, because your customers are getting more and more angry, and now more and more staff are leaving. So I can come on to salaries and all of that, but just, we've got a Natalie, real thing going on out here.
Super. And I think just picking up on that exact point, Jimmy, give us some direction here. Give us what we've got to do. How do we equip our managers to look after our people better and get a better result on the coalface? Add the value, as Natalie just pointed out.
I get really annoyed. I agree with Natalie here. So I got on my soapbox like yesterday. So I went around all the different expos yesterday, and I heard around how all of these fantastic conversational AI has transferred like 30% of demand onto self-serve, or 30%, that's 50% of demand onto automation. Awesome. Everybody hates it. Everybody here hates talking to a chatbot. Everybody who came to our booth was talking about chatbots and how they hated them. So you just deflected 30 or 40% of your demand into a channel that everybody hates. It's ridiculous. So like, I'm an AI guy, I'm an analyst, like I should be I'm a data guy, like I should like this stuff. But actually, it's about human to human augmented conversations are what we should be doing right now, because what we're doing as an industry, all of the outsourcers that are here as well, you're being forced to do it by your clients, or you're doing it yourself to make greater margins. But what you're doing is you're destroying value. You're really destroying value. When it comes, I do agree as well with Natalie, like the time of the super agent is here. There's never been more data. There's never been more stress. There's never been more like pinch points when it comes to margins and things, and everyone's trying to get more out of less. And I understand that. To me, we're spending billions of pounds on automation, chatbot AI, and digitization, but we should be, at first point, we should be investing in the tools that improves the experience for the agents of customer conversations. There is an empathy Trojan horse. We need to teach our agents to I don't want this to sound inauthentic, but they need to mirror empathy. They can't be empathetic or totally empathetic themselves. If they're having all these difficult conversations, you know, sometimes like collections conversations, vulnerability conversations, like if you were empathetic, you'd have a nervous breakdown at the end of it. So you need to have guidance about how you go through those conversations and teach your agents to perform that way. In terms of
Jimmy, half of advisors do not know what the word empathy means, right? Do you know, it's real basic stuff. It's really difficult to train them when they don't even know what the word means in the first instance.
I completely agree. And then we have this like really weird thing where we've got industry words and buzzwords and stuff like that, like active listening. Like, what is active listening? Like, yeah, so we took away all scripts, we took away all guidance. We said, you just manage it, just be empathetic and actively listen. And then what does it mean? And what that's happened is, like, some agents, lots of agents take that on personally, other agents don't care, and the span of control of a conversation has gone, like, you know, this way and that. So me personally, like, I know there's other people that disagree, but I like scripts and I like conversational guidance, because I think you have to learn the best way to control a conversation so it doesn't get out of control and you don't get irate customers. I think conversational guidance tools are important. I think next best action recommendation tools are important. So when you've delivered a great experience, you can offer an extra product and service and increase the lifetime value. I think the underpinning of that is speech analytics or text analytics. So you've designed a great experience, you should be monitoring that great experience with speech analytics. And then finally, once you've got all of these actions, you should then be pushing it into something like miPerform that creates the feedback loop back to the team leaders, the agents, the ops managers, about who's delivering great experience and who needs some support on the way. And I'll just say one final thing, John. The automation of simple conversations and easy conversations, all you're doing there is you're removing a relationship conversation, and nobody's modeling, well, could I have upsold on that? Could I have built a greater relationship just on that call? That all they're thinking is, oh, I could automate it and remove operational costs. You need to do the analysis to see how much you're leaving on the table.
No, it's interesting.
John, if I can jump in
go
there.
for it, Rob. I want to bring you into, because
I wanted to pick up on Natalie's point about the 1992 paper about the super agent. I was the agent at that time. What I've seen is the complexity hasn't necessarily changed. So I was managing 5 or 6 different green screen systems, and it was difficult then, and it's difficult now. I think what's changed is customer expectation. What's also changed is our expectations of our people. And the biggest difference for me is really that the ability to change gear and treat each customer as an individual, as Jimmy said, you know, handling hundreds and hundreds of conversations and being able to deliver the right outcome for each customer. So I know that the question is around driving sales. I think that is kind of the wrong question. It's, for me, about driving performance, and that's a balanced performance. And for one customer interaction, that might look like one thing. For the next customer interaction, it may look like a different thing. And as Jimmy said, empowering our people through guidance, through support, through high quality coaching, high quality information, so that they can make better decisions in the moment, so that they can change gear. And when it's a customer who needs a bit of time, a bit of empathy, they can do it. But when it's a customer who's in a rush and just needs quiet efficiency and no chit chat, they can also adapt to that. So that adaptability can only be supported with good information, good training, good insight, good coaching, good freedom. So if my leader empowers me, I don't mean empowerment in the sort of fluffy, you know, in the sort of fluffy way. I mean it in a way of, I'm a professional, I've got the tools I need to do my job, I'm empowered to do it, I can make mistakes, I can learn, I can develop over time. That for me is just the route to sustainable continuous improvement, whether it's sales, service, productivity, whatever the measures are.
Nice. Can I just come back on this, because I just like to air something around it. So what we've talked about so far is agent experience, generally based on a tech solution, so that they provide tech becomes the enabler, right? Which I totally agree with. That doesn't make them a super agent. That you put the worst chef in the best kitchen, it doesn't make them a great chef, right? It's really simple. What you have to do is you have to skill people human to human, right? Or through not just about providing the tech, right? I mean, to have a basic conversation with a customer, you need 22 skills, right? And you can use those 22 skills at 3 different levels. So you can become a master in those skills at the top level. And that's what the super agent is about. Being able to really have an authentic, not an acting, but an authentic conversation that, yes, drives performance, drives value, so it drives customer loyalty, it drives the top line, right? But ultimately, it's also about the employee experience, how they are being managed on a day-to-day basis. And if they're just managed through tech, that's not enough. That's not enough for our people to keep them and to let them grow and flourish.
I had a great example, Natalie, of that, where I was managing a contact center in Sunderland, and we had one of the agents, a lady who was full of character, full of personality, and I walked past her one day and heard this BBC newsreader accent with no personality. You know, who's that? I don't recognize the voice.
Where's she gone?
And it was her. And I asked her after the call, I said, what's the story? You didn't sound like yourself. So I thought that, no, from a QA point of view, that's what you wanted. So we've scripted the life and the personality out of people. And I think it's a real shame, because as a customer, we all know, as soon as we get through to an individual, within 5 seconds, what's the quality of this conversation going to be like? Is there going to be energy and banter and whatever else I need? Or is it going to be painful? And unfortunately, I think we've scripted the life out of people over the years, and now we've got this standardization of mediocrity, really.
Yeah,
but I actually think that's.
I just want to come in there, Jimmy. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because I was going to come to you and say, look, if this is a coaching thing, if we're actually trying to help people have a natural conversation and help them with the context of that, are we measuring the right things? Right? We used to run call centers, contact centers off traffic from the ACD. We can do more than that now. What should we be doing, Jimmy, in terms of measuring things? How can we turn information into stuff we can use as a coach, manager as coach, and employee as coach, self-coaching? Talk to us a bit about that.
Well, look, I think you know, we typically use speech analytics to look at like how the flows of conversation are going, and we use behavioral science principles to look at friction in the calls and how we remove friction and things like that. The challenge that we have is this dichotomy. You know, I think Rob and Natalie were going, you know, we don't want scripts, we want authenticity, but you know, I'm
a fan of scripts, Jimmy. I am a fan of scripts, right? But how they're written and what they do.
Yes, it's totally how exactly. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, so it's around how you take that structure and then how you add like the training and the coaching and the support for your agents together with that to create.
So the script is the framework, right? The script is the framework.
And then you've got to teach people like how to deal with that. You still need to listen to somebody, but what I said was, you know, great, like Elvis Presley never wrote any of his own songs, but he was still empowered. He sung somebody else's lyrics, but he was still empowered to go up stage and delight his audience. Now, I know that may be an oversimplification, but it's something that I feel. And because you need the framework, what happens is I'm talking now and I'm freewheeling. I'm probably saying a load of things that I shouldn't be saying. People say things like basically. Well, some of a complex financial product isn't basic, or obviously we're looking for those types of things. And what we're then trying to do, we're looking for people who talk a lot. If they talk a lot, people get cognitive overload. So they're not getting the feedback from the customer and getting affirmation that things are going well. That's how we're using speech to look at the data, look at the patterns, look at the parts of speech that we want to be taken out to make a frictionless conversation, and then feeding that back to the agent. We don't even do things real time. Everybody thinks real time is great. If you're trying to have a great conversation, you want all sorts of stuff popping up on your screen all the time going like, sell this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. I think after the day when you've got a decent size of conversation, or after the week when you've got a decent sample size, that's the opportunity to then pull all the information together. For a team leader, they spend all of the time pulling information together. I think Rob's like a big advocate of this. What the technology does is pull all of that information together, push that information to your coach, and go, Natalie did 100 things yesterday. 90 of them were great. 8 of them were fine, but you could do this, and 2 of them were poor. And these are the 2 poor things, and this is what you should be talking to about, and helping the team leader that way, and the coach.
Thanks, Jimmy. Let's pull this into. We just had a question from our audience about how do we coach in a hybrid environment when people are home. Now, I think, Jimmy, you've part answered that, right? But Rob, how do we translate that into stuff that managers can use to help the frontline staff, and how can the frontline staff help themselves? In other words,
two things for me. I was actually going to try and pick up that question, John, because I saw it come in.
Yeah.
Number one is actually freeing up the leaders from tasks. So we've all been there and looked at the day in the life of studies and what time is actually being spent on. I use the sort of affecting performance terminology, where we want our leaders out there on the floor or virtually on the floor, connecting with their people, affecting real conversations that are happening right now. So that's what we want, from my point of view, what we want our leaders doing. And we want really our people to be as self-managed as they possibly can be. So more self-managed people who are empowered, who have the right tools. We can then focus the interactions and the interventions with them on things that are going to help them to be better, rather than administration and noise, trying to find the right data point. We can spend half an hour doing that, or we can spend half an hour listening to a real world conversation side by side and affecting those results. So the tools and technology, I think, are key, but they're just a means to an end to create more high quality interactions, to give people more capacity to focus on continuous improvement. And for every agent, for every team, that continuous improvement is a different journey, incrementally learning from what we can see in the rearview mirror, and then applying that to the road ahead so that we can perform. I know Natalie mentioned technology isn't the be all and end all. Absolutely, it's not. But the technology provides you the rearview mirror. It provides you the ability to steer the ship. But ultimately, it's the people who are going to deliver those experiences, those sales, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Can I come in on this question, John?
Yes,
Sorry.
please. And I was just going to give you a frame. I was going to frame it by saying, are we really moving away now from a contact center infrastructure that's command and control driven,
yes,
to one that's actually inverted, and we're giving the people the information they need for self-coaching, as well as our frontline managers?
Servant leadership. So the leaders are there to remove barriers, to provide support. I'm passionate about breaking down the old parent-child relationship and making it an adult-to-adult relationship. So if any of us were going to learn a new skill, we might get ourselves a coach in that skill. That'll be an adult-to-adult relationship. That's exactly the type of relationship that we want. And when I talk about professionalizing the role of customer service or sales, whatever the skill set is, it's about shifting that relationship so that our people can continuously improve. Yeah. And as leaders, we are coaches, barrier removers, and we're getting the team, whatever we need to do, it's our job. Massage the legs, whatever we have to do, get them in a place where they can perform at their best. There's nothing else a leader should be doing.
Natalie, come on in now.
Yeah, no, so which question am I answering? Am I answering the analytics question, the coaching question? I'm going to stay with the coaching. All of the above, right? I run a program called Leading Hybrid Teams Successfully, right? It's a training course, and it's not just a theory thing. I was I've led teams over years, but over the pandemic, I was very privileged. I worked with a number of teams to support, train and guide them and coach them through the pandemic, okay? So I was real life in action working with teams that were having real challenges, some individuals having significant mental health issues, right? As well as this whole stuff which was going around the model flipping. So I'm going to talk from experience on this one. I really feel very passionate about it. So how do you coach from the hybrid contact center environment, especially when you're in a remote situation? So I'm assuming the tech is there as the enabler, right? So there's 3 things you do. First of all, back to basics. Coaching is about the art of coaching, but also the science of coaching. So number one is you get your numbers understood. So you do the science, you understand what the purpose of coaching to deliver performance on a numerical basis, right? Not on a, oh, I think I'm going to coach someone today because something's popped up on my screen. That is the worst nightmare for an agent. Manager gets on the phone. Oh, I saw that the way you handled that was really poor. Can you work on that for me? It doesn't work. It creates irateness, okay? So I'm going to be polite, aren't I? Peeing everybody off. Peeing everybody off in a situation. So we don't do that. That's tactical management. So the first thing we do is we get our numbers understood. Understanding our numbers, we then create a glide path for each and every person involved in being coached. So the glide path is saying, this is what we want you to achieve. This is how we're going to support you to achieve it. And then the third thing is our managers are trained to coach, whether that is face-to-face, online, Zoom or Teams, or even in a coffee bar on a motorway cafe, right? Wherever it ends up being at this moment in time. So you've got three things you need to do to get the coaching in place. I love all the self-managed team stuff, and we will get there, right? But until we get our people skilled and equipped to be masters at what they do, they can't start to self-manage, because all they're dealing with all the time is call after call. And you deal with teams where, one particular team I was dealing with, they were dealing with customers going through huge bereavements, right? And you tell someone to self-manage themselves better when the person they've just spoken to has, had the most horrendous COVID-related stuff going on in their lives. It's like, don't tell me how to self-manage. It's tell me how to look after this customer and what we can do to do the right thing for them. So the coaching stuff is start with the numbers, then apply the art of coaching around it.
Natalie, I just got a question for you there, just on that. So look, I think there are similarities, I think, in where we're coming from, but where is predicting mental health issues creepy? So if we know that if we know that an agent has had like X amount of difficult calls and the likelihood to be absent or sick over the next X amount of days is high, is it creepy to then notify the manager and then say maybe you need to put the shoulder around them and have a conversation? I'm just interested in that. I know this is supposed to be about sales, but would you find that creepy as a person, and would you find it creepy like to deploy that type of tech?
No, I don't find that creepy, depending on how it's deployed, right? Because I think that's very important, actually, so that people are alerted to what's going on with individuals. But then the manager's got to be able to have the conversation. And we know that the person having the conversation is our most junior, our most underpaid, undervalued, with the highest bandwidth span of control in terms of who they're leading, and they're doing it online. So absolutely, I agree, technology enables them. However, we've actually got to skill them to be able to have that conversation and properly support the person.
I think, Natalie,
so I'm agreeing.
I think that first line leadership role and the support that they have is absolutely key. And for me,
it's the key, isn't it? It is key. It is key.
For me, the secret is role modeling. How many of those people have had great coaching experiences themselves? How many of them have been coached really well? So that second line leadership role, I think, is really, really important, because if you felt and experienced a learning journey yourself, you've been well supported, you've had the freedom to make mistakes and to learn and improve, you know how that feels, and you can then provide that support to your people. But you're right, a lot of those roles that those individuals have come from, being an agent, and they haven't had that experience and that support. So
it hasn't been delivered to them, has it?
Second line leadership role is really, really key there.
I just want to come in, because I want to bring this back to that old word, 4-letter word beginning with C, cost, right? And this industry has been driven by cost far, far too much. We mentioned the word value. Natalie, you mentioned the word value right at the top of this conversation. How do we deliver value? How do we turn the tech, right, the analytics, because we can see in our polls that people are getting the message. 71%, I think, of our audience think that tech used properly will improve the employee experience. And Additionally, people are saying, yes, they get it. We had a question, yes, they get it. Employee experience improves customer experience, EX driving CX. But how do we put a value? How do we, what's the business case? What should we be measuring? How do we deliver value?
Really simply, John, good service costs less. There's no question. And I believe very much in the sort of service profit chain of, if you look after your people, they will deliver great service to your customers and the financials will take care of themselves. There is no question that doing it right, doing it well, supporting your people will cost you less in the long run to serve your customers. The issue, I think, often is that we're trying to build a business case around a piece of tech or a solution or a transformation program. I've been the ops director when I've had a list of solutions that are coming through the organization with the total benefit adding up to more than the total FTE in my operations. I know that's not going to happen. So I just think good old operational best practice, good support and management of your people, and making sure that you're doing the right thing for your customers will cost less, will deliver more sales, less repeats, less dissatisfaction. So the customer has to be absolutely at the center for your people and for your business decision making as well.
So I think I'm going to partly agree. So you have to have the great experience, the great customer experience, and the great conversation in order to maximize the value of the call. So I think we agree on that element of it. For me, though, we're leaving millions, if not billions of pounds on the table by not properly structuring conversations and not doing sales through service. So you need to maximize the value of the conversation. I've done a sales through service piece of work, next best action, a FTSE 250 insurer, upselling and cross-selling motor products. And that was a £2 million, £2.3 million a year we put onto that. But with doing a better recommendation engine, we didn't get that through just putting the recommendation in. We had to coach people, we had to bring people on the journey, but also lots of people just didn't want to sell. So we did have to do more of a stick rather than a carrot, because you had to make people like sell things and do things the right way. And that was when we got maximum engagement. For another client, by just changing the scripts, giving a scripting tool, we added 1.6 million to retention rate. No discounts or anything like that, just by framing things correctly. But when we first did the scripts, nobody used them. And so we had to use speech analytics, and we had to use a stick to go, this is how you need to say it. Only 50% of people we changed the opening line. We run it for 4 weeks and we only had a 1 point improvement, which was still 800 grand. It was 1 point improvement, but we were wondering where the 3 or 4 points was coming from. What we learned was this: the top 20% of agents who were 90% adherent had a 9 point improvement in their retention rate against their target. And the target wasn't just flat, it was based on the risk profile, a 9 point improvement. But everybody else wasn't using it properly. Like some weren't even doing the call opening, some were only using parts. And so then we had to go, this is the best way to say it. This is the best way to say it. Eventually we got up to 70%, but that was very stick rather than carrot. They weren't incentivized in this contact center to retain at the time. And so we had to force people and force the behavior. And so I find myself a little bit of a challenge, because when I do analytics and data science and we deploy tech, I like to be in the heart of it, and I like people, the agents, to see me and like, if they want to have a go at me, they can have a go at me. That's fine. But when you talk about your best agents, you'll always have a super team of people who are very, very diligent and will go along with the stuff that you're saying. But what we've found is you'll always have this 60% here down at the bottom that you're going to have to drag like up to the top. And I think that's challenging. And it's I've tried carrot, I've tried stick, and sometimes like the stick works better than the carrot.
Yeah, I guess I agree to a point. I think that the reason that people do it don't often participate is not because they don't want to, it's because of fear. Some of this stuff is difficult, and if you tell somebody who's always been a service agent they need to sell, that feels and sounds like something which is very alien and very difficult. In real terms, it's just continue doing what you're doing, be a great service person, and talk about some of our fantastic products, which we should be rightly proud of. So I think.
Okay, can I just comment on that?
I'll just finish one point, Natalie. I'll say that
for it, Rob.
People will do the best that they can with the tools that they have, and that might be skills, soft skills, hard skills, tools, tech. People will try to do the best that they can with the tools that they have. So we've just got to make sure, again, we're setting them up for success with that servant leadership. They've got what they need to do a great job. And if they're scared, they feel open enough and confident enough to say, I find sales really scary, and I want some help with that, rather than they feel that someone's going to beat them up because they're not performing. Yeah. So I just wanted to jump in with that.
And Natalie.
Yeah, I guess I got a bit frightened by some of the language that they're using.
Yeah, so did I.
Right? Right? I really have.
Yes, he's directing us, Natalie. He's directing us.
Make a suggestion that tech people stick with tech, and then it'd be brilliant, right? I would absolutely say the total opposite. My job is to bring along a whole team, to get a team engaged with what's going on, so that people feel really positive and about that transformational change leading to a good place, right? And I have a career built on that, so I can honestly say I know how to do it. And in terms of how do you make this happen, we're going back to your question, and great service is what it's all about. I don't know any CEO that will just buy great service and get on with it. There are a few, but they are very far and few between, especially if you're an outsourcer. Because what's really key in this is margin, and great service often means a much longer telephone call, which has a cost to it. Okay, can I just come in here, Rob? Rob, hold on. So you've got three things. If you want to deliver better, you've got the cost of what you're doing, you've got the productivity around what you're doing and delivering great service, and you've also got the performance, which is the output and the deliverable that you are achieving for your customers. And I would also now put employees into that as well. So you have to find where, we're going to go back to value again. You have to find the value in great service, right? You have to find where you're going to look after customers and what that means. I have sat and had my behind well and truly kicked by one of the top FTSE MDs, CEOs, by just going in and saying, let's just let everybody deliver great service, right? Yeah. And he quite rightly said, I can't afford to do that. What I have to do is to find the sweet spot. And the sweet spot is between great service and great performance at the right price. And that comes back to this whole thing around customer segmentation, customer experience, customer value, customer lifetime value. And if you can bring that together with what your employees are doing, that's where you win for the customer, for the business, but also, absolutely importantly, for the employees, right? So it's building the right business.
I can pick up on that one point around service taking longer. Great service does not take longer. I often get asked that question. When we look at performance distribution, we look at the best performers. They can deliver sales, they can deliver high quality, they can deliver customer sat, and they can do it efficiently. We've not been able to prove a correlation between, if I sell, my HT has to be longer. If I deliver happy customers, my HT has to be longer. That correlation is not there. What we see is that people who can do it well are consistently doing it well across all of their KPIs. Those who are struggling across their KPIs. So
Rob,
the important thing is that, I'll finish one point, John.
Quickly.
Is the support that is provided to those who are struggling. And I'm absolutely with you, Natalie, on this is a people journey, engagement, context, support. All of those things are really critical to making that happen.
Guys,
yeah, can I come back in on Neris's question, Neris's point here? Because she's making a good point and asking me if I think it's naive to discount the ability of tech. Of course I don't. Tech has a role. Tech has a role also within the whole organization and everything we do in a digital future. The bit I really want us to focus on, though, is that we can't just rely on the tech. We have to also give the people the skills and the will to do the job.
And I think you've summarized it for me, Natalie. I think it's not just having the, first of all, it's having the information, and then it's how we use it is the key thing. JB, I know we're running short of time against the clock. Back to you.
Yeah, great. No, I was really enjoying that, actually. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Longer session next time, JB.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. It's quite gripping, actually. So yeah, I hope the audience enjoyed it as much as I did. So thank you all for your obviously your input into this debate. I think there's even more we could talk about. I think we've gone for another hour probably and more. But no, thank you very much. I hope the audience did enjoy it. If you could give us your sort of opinions afterwards, there is a short survey just for you to sort of give us feedback. That'd be really appreciated. Thank you, John, for sharing. As always, done a great
Didn't
job.
have to do much, JB.
No, well, that's true in this case. You didn't know. But yeah, if there are any questions which you're not managed to answer, we'll get back to you on that. Because obviously we only have so much time to get through. We will be sending through an email after the session with links to the video recording. So if you want to rewatch it, you can do that. You can pass it on to your colleagues if you think it's worthwhile. There's also going to be links to supportive material. But yeah, we're going to be running future showcases, and yeah, we'd really appreciate you if you could join us for those as well. But once again, thank you for joining, and thank you everyone for participating.
Thanks for organising it, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Really
thank you,
enjoyed it.
everyone. Thank you.